Hwoarang gameplay. It's going to be your forward 1+2. Mostly because it's counter launches. Again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that's definitely something to use in your Hwoarang gameplay. It's fairly quick. The range is kind of crappy, obviously, but it does have some decent damage. So keep that in mind. Your next two moves, and these are also both moves you want to start using, is going to be your down forward 1 and your down forward 1+2. The main difference is, the only real difference between these two moves is your down forward 1's range is really crappy, but it's faster recovery, and your down forward 1+2 has a lot more range, but it takes just a little longer to recover. So just keep those in mind, and definitely use these in your Hwoarang gameplay. You also have your down forward 3, 4. These are really good. These are really good key moves, just because it's not super punishable. You might get jabbed if you try to do something like trade, but this hasn't been punished on me yet. And I think the thing that makes this the most valuable is the fact that you can delay your 4 attack. As you can see, you can delay this a lot. Like that's without delay, and then this is with delay. So sometimes, even though obviously it's being blocked, it's sometimes better to delay it, just because some people, once it's delayed, some people don't expect the next hit. They think you're done already. So sometimes it works out better. You also have your down forward 4. This isn't, I wouldn't say this is a key move, but this is definitely something you want to put into your Hwoarang gameplay. Just because I think it's really good. Just like a lot of his moves, his range isn't the greatest, but it does have good. It's a homing move and it's a screw attack, and it's fairly powerful. So that's that. You have his down back 3. So that's definitely something. Or my bad. You also have his down 3, 4. I was gonna wait for this move till later, because it's a move that puts you in a different stance. But this is definitely something that is like Hwoarang's like key moves. If you've ever played Hwoarang, this move, or played against him, played with him, whatever, this is definitely something you've used. It's really good. It's natural between the low and high, so it's really good. The only thing that sucks about this now is that it has a lot of pushback, even on block, but it's still a really good move. At least if you know how to use it. It's really good. So there's that. Then you have his down back 3. This is a really good low poke. It high crushes. I don't know if it high mid box crushes. It looks like it might, but I don't want to say it does. I don't think it does, but it might. And it's got a little bit better range than a lot of his moves. It's still not great range, but it's still better than some of his other moves. Let's see. You have his down back 4, 4. This is a move you really want to be careful with, just because a lot of people have seen this, and once you do that low, a lot of people think to hit down back, and this tends to miss, as you can see from him just normal guarding. It gets missed a lot, and then that's quick for a punishment. However, it is good on counter, and whether you get counter hit or not, if they get knocked down, you get yourself a free down back 3. Not great damage, but it's still something. And that's pretty much all you'll get out of it, honestly. You used to be able to do like forward 4-3. I don't know if you still can. And Tekken, oh yeah. So that's pretty much free to you, only because of the way they go down. But you know, as you can see, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So you got to be really, really careful. So I would honestly just stick to the down back 3. It's a little bit safer bet. But you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It usually works for me, but you know, I guess they pushed it back a lot more than they did before. But it works out for me in fights, so that might be something to use in your gameplay. Another thing would be his back 1. This is another one of his key moves you might want to implement, only because of the whole evasive part. Like Hwoarang has pretty much always been a very linear character, and he's never really been good for evading attacks. So this is definitely really, really good, just because it really gets him out of the way. As you can see, though, the range isn't the greatest, so be careful. You also have his back 2. The range is garbage for this move, so fair warning. However, this is a really, really good move. This puts you, even if it gets blocked, it's fairly safe. It's completely safe, even on block. It's really, really decent. Just the fact that I was really hesitant on whether I wanted to point that move out or not, just because it's range is absolute garbage. But it's still really, really good. 18 damage, and they do that whole spiral thing, so they might not be, you know, so that's pretty good. You have his back 4. It's really quick, really quick. It does 20 damage. It doesn't look any more punishable than that, or even that. Looks like it's pretty quick. It might be punishable though, so be careful. It looks like it might be punishable. It takes his, you know, it looks like his leg takes a minute to go back down, so be careful with that move. You have his up back 4. I wouldn't really call this a key move, or even a valuable poke to use, because as you can see, the range on it sucks. This is mostly good for like at the beginning of a fight. If you have an opponent that likes to charge in, this is pretty good, especially against like King and Lee's up forward 4 knee attacks. The moves are really, really good, just because it gets you out of the way, and your kick, Hwoarang's up back 4, will usually beat them. I say usually because every now and again, it hasn't usually end up trading, but that's always been the worst case scenario with that move, is either it misses because they end up just backing up right away, it beats them versus anything they do, or you end up trading depending on what they do. And the only real move you have to be aware of when it comes to trading is like Lee and King's up forward 4 knee attacks. I don't know who else has it, but so it's pretty decent. It's definitely something to put in your arsenal of moves. You have his up 4 3+4. He does have an extension, which is up 4 3+4 4. However, I would not use this when you're up in their face. I would honestly just stick to the up forward 3+4. It's a lot safer and not quite as punishable. It's not punishable. But the up forward 3+4 4, if it's blocked, is very punishable. So be careful with that. He has his forward forward 3 and his forward forward 4. Not so much as forward forward 3. His forward forward 3 is mostly good for when somebody gets thrown onto the ground. My bad. I don't fucking know. You know, something like that. But that's really it. I wouldn't, its range isn't the greatest. As you can see, though, it does force crouch, like, heavily. So that's definitely something. And it does have really, really good pushback on block. If anything, though, I would stick with, I would go with forward, forward, 4. Its range is a lot better. And it puts you in right foot forward, which this is more or less Hwoarang's aggressive stance. So this is something that's really, really good to get into sometimes. And it does, you know, the 24 damage. Let's see. And then he has his wall running 3 or forward, forward, forward 3. So I'm going to take a second to talk about his forward moves and his wall running move. Because a lot of people don't know this, and you may or may not use this. I found it to be extraordinarily useful, and nobody else has pointed it out yet. So what I want to point out is that he also has forward moves from his right foot forward. And I know I'm not on his right foot forward yet, but I do want to point these out real quick while I'm on his forward moves and his wall running moves. Because he also has his forward 4. Oh, my bad. The only problem I have with that move is that it's a high, and if you does get blocked, I'm trying to do this right here. If it does get blocked, oh my god! If it gets blocked or misses, it sticks you in back turned, and that's not a position you want to be, especially if you're new with Hwoarang and you're not really sure how to get out of it right away. That's definitely something you don't want to do. So that's why I didn't point it out. If you want to use it, it's not a bad move. Not even a little bit of a bad move. So just be careful using it. But I wanted to point out how if you hit forward 3 plus 4 and then forward 2 more times, and then either the 3 or the 4, you can do your wall running moves in Hwoarang's face and in your opponent's face. No, this is not exactly 100% useful when they're standing. However, I found this to be extremely useful when they're on the ground trying to get back up. Mostly because that, you know, especially his forward 3 or his wall running 3, my bad. It tends to beat most of their get up attacks, especially like their spring attacks or when they do that forward somersault attack, or their low kick even. It tends to beat it most of the time, and I've actually finished a lot of fights using this move this way. So this might be definitely something to try to learn to do. And even if like you're fighting against somebody who's really what's the word, defensive, this might be something to whip out every now and again. Just because it's really, really good. And it does low crush. So keep that in mind. So then you got your 3 wall rising moves. You have his wall rising 3. I think on block, it has good pushback. It used to force crouch. I guess not so much anymore. And then you have but it's still pretty good. It's fairly safe. And as you can see, it has that pushback. And then you have his wall rising 4/4, which, depending on what you do next, you'll probably trade. But I don't want to get into the moves you can do right off the get-go just yet. Because that would be getting too far ahead of myself, and I've already done that a couple times already. But then your last move is going to be your wall rising 3 plus 4. It's really, really good. It force crouches on block or on hit. So it's, I guess it doesn't force crouch on hit and on block no more. It used to, but I guess not so much anymore. And I'll explain a little bit later